Whoa, we're back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and today we're going to be doing a roundup thread, the weekly question thread, trying to answer as many as possible that, aren't, repeated or anything like that. But first and foremost, we have a hotfix patch and some juicy Jade here. Getting Jade is always fun. That's why I don't really mind whenever something goes awry, because, I don't know, like, in Dokkan, you get like one Jade, quote unquote, you get like one stone if they need to fix something, but in this game they tend to just like dole out rewards for shit. So I'll definitely take some stamina and some Jade. But we've got Ginichimaru's time freeze. It looks like these were all based on the time freeze, so the dodge mechanic, the sort of stillness that happens when a character uses an attack, like Mayuri's technique or so on. So Gin's was affected. His active counter would have normally affect teammates' time freeze. Soifon was affected. Her counter attack would not apply the time freeze properly. And Szayel, who I did not point out, but I will say I have noticed this one the most. Szayel's time freeze on his ultimate was essentially non-existent. It felt like he didn't have as much of the freeze in his big attacks, but he did have it for his maybe something like his technique or something, like the actual like dodging out of his techniques felt fine, dodging out of his special attack felt fine, but his ultimate, both times it felt like the monsters were able to move every single time, which is very odd, but I thought it was just intended. And then fix an issue where Grimjo's Sonido would occasionally fail to consume dodge energy. That's pretty funny. I did notice this minorly, but to be honest, Grimjo refreshes his dodge so often that it's kind of hard to tell. So we'll go ahead and claim that. We get a badge back. Oh yeah, dude. Give me them badges. We send those on our way. But yeah, let us get into the actual content of the video, which is answering some questions. So I'll, without further ado, I'm just wandering around here, but let's get into it, right? So we arrive at this one. First off, Szayel is drippy as hell, but I have no idea how to use him. Is there really any reason to use his second ult? I mean, I see 15% attack buff, but CD is pretty big, and I can't understand the good rotation for Aizen, Momo, Szayel team. So, let me go ahead. Well, let's go in game for this, huh? Let's actually go in game, but before we do that, let's just look here. So the reason you want to sort of be like getting him in and out is obviously you see all this stuff and it's all these buffs that just sort of happen passively. He just like gives these, right? Here though, each time Szayel releases a technique or counter attack, the entire team's attack increases by 10% for 20 seconds. In his ultimate, I don't think he can at all gain access to this. I believe he can only, he can't move, dodge, or counter. And isn't his technique replaced by his special attack? Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but either way, he can't do those things. But he is, of course, gaining this big old buff that gives him guaranteed crit, which means he does not need crit himself. So he has this ability to release a big attack, and he has a pretty concise like window, right? I mean, it's not too hard to sort of plot out what that's going to look like. So as we go in here, and yeah, that's perfect. As we go in here, we'll see sort of what the rotation looks like. It's actually pretty simple, because the reason that Szayel feels weird is because Aizen isn't a perfect, he's not a perfect sort of recipient of these abilities. He's not perfect in what he's up to. So let's go this way, right? So you're gonna start off, you're gonna go to Mobo, you're gonna do 1 attack, 2 attack, and you're gonna go to Szayel, and you're going to attack into all of his things showing up here, and you're gonna get this off. That's gonna give him ultimate immediately. Wait, why is my thing all messed up? Hold on, that's so weird. All my stuff's messed up. There we go. Ever since they added controller support, they've kind of messed up my my setup here, so that's better. But so you're gonna go into her, you're gonna go blast, you're gonna Szayel, and you're gonna attack until he has all of his things. Pop here, go ult. That is round 1. He has nothing to do, so now you can either go into Aizen like this, or you can switch into him like this, right? And then you just do your attacks as normal, And the only characters you're going between are these two right here, right? And they get in. Now, at this point, you have a decision to make. As you go back into Aizen, you're at half ult strength. You can just do this, something like this, go here, and then grab like another ult. You can then switch back in, and you can either ult now, or you can go into Aizen's ult. I like going into Aizen's ult. Here's why. Because if you don't have B1 Aizen and you don't have like a way to gain a lot of energy, that means you can do this. And then you go into Aizen, and you see all my energy building up, right? It's building up. This team has a tough time getting Aizen in to his boosted state. So we're going to do something like this. And you see, I'm just a little bit off now. Now I have it, but if I didn't, then I could pop the ult in this ultimate, get almost 2 million damage, and then guess what? We still have a little time to get the counter buff, or the technique buff up. We do that, and now we ult out. And I think that's been my... I mean, you can speed this up, obviously, but that has been my way, and you can see right there, 26 million damage. So that rotation, and, you know, not like putting a fine point on it, not like, you know, attributing like any sort of time to it, that rotation is how we get our, you know, 42 million chunks. And you can do that over and over, and you can see he can literally go back into ult immediately, right? So that is my Szayel sort of rotation. Obviously, I was doing that very slowly, just so we could actually like look at how it's done. But if you're using Momo, Aizen, and Szayel, that is how I would do it. I would also say that... How would I say this? I would also say that if you have B1 Aizen or anything like that, you are in a much better position because you're just getting that energy so much faster on Aizen. But yeah, that is how I would sort of let that one go. So we've got a question here. Is B2 Aizen or B1 Szayel better? Someone says, I wouldn't B1 BL as a free-to-play or light spender. I'm just going to go ahead and flatly agree with that. We can go in here and just take a look because, you know, it's a question. So B1 Szayel, when releasing a special attack, if there are 6 stacks of intel control, the entire team gains an additional 10% spirit damage for 20 seconds, increases ultimate charge rate by 40%. We can look here. All characters in the team deal 20% more spirit damage. I would say that Szayel's is better. Because not only are you getting this huge spirit damage bonus for your intel control, right? So if there are 6 stacks, the entire team gets an additional amount. And if you look in here and we go to like our intel stacks, right? So we're now getting the maximized version of this, but we're also getting 10%. And we're getting ult charge, which means that we don't need to put that on our stamp in any way. I will say Szayel does not struggle to get his ult though, so you could see that as sort of a negligible statistic, obviously, of course. But I would say that this gives more total stats. This does more total mechanical things. That said, I would just purely not suggest, like the person responded, I would just not suggest actually going for any Szayel dupes if you are free to play or low spending. Whereas Aizen, the reality is just sort of, if you B2 Aizen, you just have access to future power, which is something like B4. Does that make sense? He's more of an investment. So with Szayel, you could say, well, then I could get B2 at some point, which is each time a special attack is released, enemies have their spirit resistance reduced by 10%. That's pretty good because you can get up to like 20%. But that said, if you're already going for B2 Aizen, you're probably one of those people who could be talked into going to B4 when a rerun happens, right? So I think the investment into Aizen looks better. So if you're hard pressed, if you're like, I need to do this, that is my opinion. Hey guys, I started playing last patch as a free-to-play, and I'm using a Soifon B0 A1 C1, that's fine, Yoruichi B1 A1 C2, that's fine, and Kisuke B0 A1 C1 team. I was wondering if it's worth summoning for Aizen, even if I don't have any other spirit characters taken up. I'd probably only be able to get him B0 A1. He's my favorite character from Bleach, but I want to make sure I don't waste resources. Probably not since you don't already have a spirit team built, but if you really like Aizen and you enjoy his play style, like using him in the free trials and stuff, then go for it. He's pretty strong regardless and can be universal. Okay, so my opinion on this actually is, one, Aizen is universal. Szayel, if you are a new player, is not. Aizen will serve Adebel when Adebel comes out. So will Szayel Lapero. Aizen and Urahara are the sort of they're the staples of the game still. When I need a team and I don't really have a full team made for a character, Aizen and Urahara are just the ones who fold around characters the easiest. He is the definition of anyone can get it, right? Getting Aizen is probably not going to be a particularly bad gambit. B0 Aizen got buffed to the point where he does extremely respectable damage. Is he better with B1? Is he better with this and that? Of course. Will we be getting a Spirit Tactics character probably sooner rather than later? Maybe, but we really don't know either. Actually, let's go to a Twitter post I saw by another BSR creator, and we can discuss this directly. Hopefully they, I don't know them, but hopefully they don't mind. So here we have their post saying, this is Bleach BSR, this Mystic Frontline event really helped me realize that we do not have a full team for each monotyping. Hopefully this landscape graphic paints us a clue of what we can expect for the next 3 releases. Strike support. If you run Kisuke on Strike with Soifon, Yoruichi, and Grimjo, then you can't run him on Slash, which arguably needs him way more. This is true. Slash is dire. Slash has not gotten any of these super strong character typings. I know. Kenpachi is my favorite character in the game so far. But Kenpachi is a DPS, and the raw DPS characters, the characters that literally are full assaults, are not the strongest characters in the game. The supports are. So Slash has not gotten a sub DPS, a support DPS, or a support, which means that Slash is worse off for wear, right? Even though Urahara is so good, Byakuya just isn't. So, and what that ends up meaning is that Slash ends up needing Urahara +1 instead of running Byakuya. Slash tactic. Slash is definitely the weakest team as of now. We need a solid Slash tactic on Nellel's level. An updated support is probably also needed, though it definitely doesn't need to be an SSR. An SR plus buffer, plus R, oh my god. An SR plus that buff better than Kisuke, but maybe not as good as Mayuri and Sei, would be needed. And we have their graphic here where you can see Bankai Ichigo, Kenpachi, Byakuya, Urahara, and then you see these other characters, and let's really take a look at this map, right? Let's really settle in on it. So when we take a look at this, we see Aizen sort of here, and this is all about Aizen, remember that. We see Aizen here, we see Toshido here, and we see Szayel Lapero here, and these represent the only spirit characters that really exist in the game at a limited level. Aizen, who just got buffed, looks fixed to remain here for at least 2, maybe even 3 more months, I think. Because what I think we're going to get after the Aizen character, or after the Half Annie, so 3 weeks from now, Grimjo will come out. Pantera Grimjo will come out. 3 weeks after that, we'll finally be moving to a different character. What we're suspecting is a spirit DPS, because they tease that maybe a Harabel is coming. Because a Harabel is coming, that's another 3 weeks, right? At that point, I would probably be suspecting a tactic slash character or a tactic support, or a slash support character. It's the one that makes the most sense outside of just running a strike support, which, of course, I mean, I know I say it's the one that makes the most sense. The reason I say that is because strike will have now gotten an SSR, a SR plus, and a Half Annie SSR. And I know that this spot is missing, but it's not missing more than this group up here who has gotten 1 limited character since launch. I mean, you could count Bankai Ichigo, but I kind of don't, because he's sort of the launch character. I'm talking about the power creep characters. This is not good enough, whereas this is good enough, and I think we're getting a DPS, which means they're less incentivized to replace Aizen. I also think they have rerun Aizen more than any other character in the game. I think they're very aware that people want Aizen. I think they're very aware that they want to maximize people wanting Aizen, and I think they're very aware that keeping Aizen around is good for profit. And that's why I think that they're going to be a little slow on replacing him. A little slow. So I think at minimum, and we can get out of there, but thank you for that. I think at minimum, we could expect Aizen to be good for another 2-3 months. And by that time, you will not have wasted resources. 2 or 3 months? And you have gotten like that amount of use out of him? That, I mean, this is all speculation. I don't know. But I would say that's fine. If my main damage is Aizen, should I go for Szayel as support, or should I try and get Aizen boundaries, and what should the team be? This is exactly the question this person should be asking. Because if your Aizen is on B3 and you could be getting B4, then maybe you get B4. But if your Aizen is on B1 and you're going to get B2, then almost certainly you want to pull for Szayel, not only because he future-proofs your account to some extent, he is a support, but he's good on other teams. He doesn't have to be on Spirit. He's best on Spirit, but he doesn't have to be. Secondly, Aizen really doesn't shine as a solo DPS without help until you get B4. So it does depend on how deep in are you. Like, for me right now, pulling on an Aizen actually looks pretty good. It does look pretty good. Like, if I were to get a B1 Aizen, that looks like a good trade, especially because I pulled Szayel in no time at all, right? Once I get enough tickets, probably like the free-to-play tickets from this event, I might just chuck that at Aizen's banner and see if I hit. Genuinely, because getting in B1 would be pretty massive. But other than that, boundaries are about breakpoints. And if you're like asking, I've got B1 Aizen, should I get B2 Aizen? No. If you're asking if I got B2 Aizen, should I get B3 Aizen? No. If you're asking if I got B3 Aizen, should I get B4 Aizen? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's good enough. And again, it just goes on like that. So B4 Aizen, should I get B5? B5 Aizen, should I get B6? Okay, now we're talking. Excess crit damage converts to crit damage at a 1-to-1 ratio. Sounds pretty good to me. That's a big damage character. That's probably more than just adding a support onto his team who's at B0, but I will say it's not that much more. It's not that much more. I think that Szayel is doing great things for the Spirit team. I think he's offering like hundreds of crit damage, hundreds of, like total attack percent, like all these things. Like he's doing a lot at B0. So that would be my thing. Try to widen your character as much as possible. It is fun to get boundaries, but if you're asking which one is smarter, I would say get Szayel more times than not. If you're asking, but this one makes me feel good, then feel good. It's fine. Should I pull for Szayel? For context, I have B6 Aizen, B1 Toshido. I mainly use Aizen for DPS with Kisuke and Momo. If Szayel's worth pulling, if I am keeping Aizen for DPS, if so, which boundary weapon would I pull? I have enough Jades and tickets for at least B4. B0 is... I don't even have to go back in. Pull Szayel. Szayel is great. Szayel is not, like, impeding on Kisuke and Momo. He's, like, dominating them. Like, if you love Aizen, this person loves Aizen. They B6'd him, B5'd him, C5'd him. If you love Aizen, then get Szayel. He's made for him. Obviously, Toshido benefits a lot, but like B6 Aizen on a Kisuke on a Momo team with Szayel like explodes, and neither of them take up his on-screen time. So yeah, I would say so. I'm wondering if I should roll for Szayel if I don't have Aizen, since my teams are Gin, Main, Kenny, and Soifon. I really, really love Szayel, one of my top 5s, but I don't see him working as a universal support, and I don't want to have to roll for another unit plus weapon temp just to make him work. Aizen is a really good unit, and there will be a new Sphere DPS soon, likely Audibel. You'll need Aizen if you pull on her. Yeah, so this goes back to the thing where I don't know if they're free to play, I don't know if they're low spending, but you have a main team and you have 3 colors. You said you had your Gin team, your main team, your Kenny team, your Slash team, and your Soifon team, your Strike team. At some point you have to like commit to a Spirit character. You have to, because events will demand that you do that. You know what I mean? You will eventually need Spirit characters to break through like a new tower. and this is probably going to be the next bit of content I end up doing, but you need to do your tower and stuff like that. We're going to get boosted towers eventually. It's not going to stay the same forever, right? So I would definitely suggest pulling for Szayel Lapido. He's a support. You just don't want to miss supports. I mean, it's boring, I think, to say sometimes, because I mean they love Szayel, by the way. So they said I love Szayel. It's boring to say sometimes though, outside of loving a character, but supports just rule most gacha games. The characters that will be replaced at some point aren't Szayel Lapido that fast, and aren't real. I mean, there's no other supports listed here even, but Mayuri. It's gonna be characters like Gin getting replaced. It's gonna be characters like Kenny getting replaced. It's gonna be characters like Yoruichi getting replaced. Characters like Szayel Lapido, characters like Aizen. Honestly, Aizen's lasted a really long time. Toshido with Harabel in a bit. Those are gonna be the characters that struggle, but not Szayel Lapido. Szayel Lapido is gonna be good for a while. They're going to put in new spirit supports at some point, sure, but how soon is that? Like, it's probably not that soon. I've said this since the beginning of the game. DPS characters are going to be plentiful. They're going to put out DPS characters. They're going to put out sub DPS characters, but those big supports who don't cost any field time, they're the ones. Let's see. Anyone else? Let's see. I don't have Toshido. I'm going to wait for the next sphere release. Meanwhile, I'm going to use B2 Aizen. What are the rotations? I actually just did this, so I don't really need to do that. Just managed to get Aizen to B4. I've read using Kenpachi stamps are better as a DPS, but is it worth investing resources and getting decent, good Kenpachi stamps when I don't have any at the moment, or am I better off keeping my current Aizen stamps? I do just want to say, actually, let's just let this the last one because this video is running a little long. I do just want to say that in the case of resources, should I do these resources? It's got to be used at some point. We have 3 weeks. If you have your other characters done, then think about this. I'm going to go here really quick. How many days? 17 days left. Let's say you're already done with your Szayel Lapido, like, gear. We're going to go, that means we're going to go into Perfect Judgment. I have 8 of these. And I have 4 more to get. Like, and then we're going to have 10 more to get as well. I get the idea of, like, you know, when a new character comes out, resources get really scant and it becomes really hard to get our resources and resources. Don't have resource paralysis. You at some point need to use your resources. You're going to need to use your con. You're going to need to use your stamp XP. You're going to need to use your ectoplasm. It is what it is. Don't get resource paralysis. The only thing I'd say is if you're working on something, work on that thing. When I'm building a character, I'm working on that character until that character is done. Done doesn't mean perfect gear. Done doesn't mean that I'm completely happy with every gear piece on Szayel Lapido, but done means he's usable. I can move on to my next project. And hey, if I happen to get a Szayel Lapido, piece later on, I can come back to him. But for now, I'm thinking about, who needs gear the most. You remember, I was actually building my Kenpachi out, and I got him a crazy piece. And it wasn't this piece, it was actually this piece. It was so good that I said, wait a minute, I'm not putting that on Grimjo, who's going to be replaced. I'm putting that on my Kenpachi. So by investing in the Kenpachi set, by the way, because Kenpachi set does seem to be a very generically powerful damage DPS set, you actually fill out other characters. Kenpachi set, much like Guess Who, the Yurahara set, is very generic. It's very just strong, right? So when we have things like, oh, I'm trying to build Grimjo, for example, in my case, and I get this insane piece. Look at this piece. I was building for Grimjo when I pulled this, and I went, wait a minute, hold the fuck on. That's better than my Kenpachi piece. Look at this piece right here. And one thing you can do is you can go to that website, that stamp raider website, on the, for Bleach Soul Resonance, and you can compare these stamps, and it's like, I don't even need to do that. Just look at this piece. It's crazy, right? So it is worth it to just invest in characters, because inadvertently you might end up helping build your other characters, because as you develop gear, as you get resources, and you have the availability to, like, you look at something like this and you're like, well, I don't really need that piece anymore. I'm gonna re-roll this one because this is a tactics character and I don't have that, right? Like, you could skill rewind that one, right? As you sort of get these, like, things to work for you, you end up just developing, and I should lock this. You end up developing more backlog for your other characters. Now, if a character, say another SR plus character comes out and Kenpachi's set again is the best one for them, this base attack and crit damage, now I just have these extra pieces lying around for them. Your gear isn't fixed to one character. Your gear doesn't just disappear once you take it off or once you build other characters, right? So I do think that's sort of a thing, is just commit sometimes. Like, we have 3 weeks until something else happens. At some point, we might get Trial Tower back. We might get any amount of things back that alleviate that process. We didn't have it last time, so it's probably going to come back this time, right? So just build your characters. Just focus on building them. Don't like spread your resources in the case of, like, oh, I gotta do this, then I gotta do this, then I gotta do this, then I gotta do this. Just build the character you're focusing on, and then when you're done with them, start building the next one. And over time, you'll develop you'll develop your roster, you'll develop your backlog, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. I think that was a pretty insightful video. I think we got questions that we don't usually get. I tried not to get too many repeat questions. Obviously, we got some Szayel Laporto questions, and Aizen questions. We always get Aizen questions. Let's just say that Aizen will always show up in these because Aizen is an extremely popular character. But for now, I have been Lone. Like, if you like the video, subscribe, join the club. We all gonna make it, and peace.